Okay, let's dive in. Today, we're looking at something pretty extraordinary, really unexpected. We're focusing on alleged testimony given under oath, in a really high-profile trial. Specifically, what's being reported from the courtroom about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's alleged appearance in the Sean Diddy Combs trial.
That's right. And our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is to really get into the source material that's reporting on this alleged testimony. We want to pull out the key insights, understand not just what was allegedly said, but the whole context described, the motivations, the alleged system behind it all, just as it was reportedly laid out.
So let's try and set the scene. The courtroom atmosphere was already tense, charged. Other testimonies had reportedly come before this. The source mentions names like Monique, Denzel Washington, Jamie Foxx. Their alleged appearances had apparently already shaken things up.
Right, so you get this sense that the room had already absorbed a lot, maybe thought they knew what to expect next, or were braced for more tough stuff. But then, according to these reports, something happened that nobody saw coming. No warning. A side door just opened.
And that's when, as the courtroom reports tell it, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson allegedly walked in. And the description is, well, it's stark. It wasn't The Rock persona. Not at all. The source says he looked broken, vulnerable, scared even, a hollow face, furrowed brow showing real emotional pain. And this detail jumped out. He wasn't carrying any notes, and this low quote from the source, the weight is something he had never spoken aloud.
Wow. And the reaction described in the source, immediate, palpable. It says the room didn't just freeze, it, quote, broke. Diddy reportedly stiffened right up. His lawyers allegedly started whispering frantically. Prosecutors apparently exchanged these loaded glances. The source suggests everyone knew instantly. This moment was going to change everything.
So he allegedly takes the stand, hesitates, grips the railing, looks around judge, gallery, jury, Diddy. And his reported opening words were, well, powerful. He said he felt he have to be there, that he'd lived with something eaten away at me for almost 20 years. Admitted he was still scared, but I'm more scared of what happens if I stay silent.
And what seems to have struck the reporters was how he immediately framed it. It wasn't just about him. He reportedly said this wasn't only about Diddy, but about how he got away with it for so long. That right there elevates it, doesn't it? Positions it as an alleged look at a whole system.
Definitely. And the source really highlights his alleged admission. I was one of them. One of the ones who thought playing along meant survival. I played along and I paid a price no one ever saw. That's reportedly the point where the air just went out of the room, confirming this was about alleged hidden dynamics, hidden costs.
So he reportedly starts his story way back 2001, transitioning from wrestling, the Scorpion King era, feeling, hungry, ambitious, but also, he reportedly said, naive.
And Diddy allegedly comes across as this, perfect connection, a guardian angel, a connector, someone who could open every door in Hollywood. He apparently didn't think twice when Diddy suggested they talk off the record about opportunities.
Right. And those early interactions, the source describes them as these exclusive private gatherings, industry nights, mansions in LA, Miami. They allegedly started out feeling, legit, chill, champagne, handshakes, meeting producers, studio folks. The buzz was apparently everyone said Diddy's the guy.
But then, allegedly, the vibe started to shift over time. It stopped feeling like networking and started feeling like a test. That's how the source puts it. Diddy would allegedly ask these pointed questions like, are you down for greatness? Would you bleed for it? The source says Dwayne Johnson allegedly tried to laugh it off, but Diddy was apparently dead serious.
Then came these alleged favors. Requests to show up at places, parties, but at really odd hours. There's one specific time mentioned in the source. 2:13 a.m., a house in Bel Air. He was allegedly told that's when real decisions get made.
So he reportedly gets there, alone, waits for over an hour, then these silent guests arrive. Black suits, nobody talking. He allegedly felt like he was in a cult waiting for their leader.
And when Diddy finally entered, according to the source, the lights dim, and then there's audio playing, on loop, hidden speakers. It's allegedly Diddy's own voice asking, are you worthy? Are you ready? Would you eat what I feed you? Dwayne's first thought, he reportedly testified, was maybe this is art, eccentric showbiz, weird, but part of the game. But the source emphasizes this gut feeling he had, saying the opposite. Something is wrong.
And this reportedly leads up to what he called the first test. Diddy allegedly asks him to meet alone, undisclosed location outside LA. His publicist's advice, according to the report, this could be the meeting that changes your life. And Dwayne's alleged reflection on the stand was chilling. Turns out he was right. It changed everything, just not how I thought.
Yeah, and the source says the courtroom energy just plummeted when Dwayne Johnson allegedly got to this next part, the words monkey brains.
Okay.
This was reportedly the thing he'd never told anyone.
Right. He described allegedly being driven there blindfolded, escorted into a dark room, candles, red lanterns, black cloth walls, 5 silent men in suits are there. Diddy's at the head of a table, reportedly laughing, calm, holding a crystal goblet.
Then a tray is allegedly brought out by a man in a white robe, placed right in front of him, uncovered. And on this steel plate, reportedly, is raw monkey brain, described as still steaming, no seasoning, wet, trembling.
Oof. And Diddy's alleged words during this reported ritual, everyone who's made it ate, everyone who didn't vanished. Then telling the men, let him feel the pressure. The door's locked. Dwayne allegedly asked if it was a joke, a prank, tried to laugh. Reportedly, nobody else did.
Then the source reports, Diddy hands him a spoon, leans in close, and allegedly says, Hollywood is not about talent, it's about obedience. According to these reports, that's when Dwayne Johnson reportedly just broke down crying on the stand, describing feeling utterly scared, humiliated, alone.
With shaking hands, he reportedly lifts the spoon, bites down. What he remembers, allegedly, the sound, the room laughing, the chewing, then just silence.
He allegedly had to sit there for 30 minutes while they watched him finish it all.
And when it was done, Diddy reportedly stood up, clapped, and allegedly said, "Welcome to level 2."
Yeah.
The source really highlights the immediate impact this allegedly had on him, walking out feeling like a part of me had died. And he reportedly clarified, it wasn't the act itself, but what I gave up to eat it. The courtroom silence described in the report just underscored that alleged theme.
The price of success, what people might be pushed towards when silence is the price of success.
Wow. Okay, so what allegedly followed this? The source talks about psychological conditioning.
Yeah, that's the term used. He was reportedly treated differently afterwards, like I was one of them now, but constantly being tested, apparently, for silence, for obedience. He described an alleged business retreat, secluded desert estate, no typical industry people, just other entertainers, some famous, some not, all looking reportedly uncomfortable.
And what allegedly happened there?
Isolated rooms, reportedly. No windows. Phones taken away. Music blared for hours. Unpredictable food schedules. They were allegedly given strange scripts to memorize. Forced to chant affirmations about surrendering to the higher power of success. And apparently they were only allowed to speak when directly addressed.
That sounds intense. How did he allegedly interpret that at the time?
Well, initially he reportedly thought maybe it was some kind of extreme performance training, an eccentric workshop. But then he allegedly realized it was about submission. The goal, he claimed, was to make them confuse fear with loyalty and pain with progress. He reportedly didn't speak up, partly because he thought maybe he was crazy. But he saw looks from others, looks that suggested they felt trapped in the same unspoken nightmare.
And the internal impact. What did the source say about that?
Significant, reportedly. Losing sleep, paranoia, constant self-doubt, feeling conditioned, like he was being repurposed as a product molded by silent hands behind the curtain. He allegedly came to realize they didn't need literal chains. They just needed silence, confusion, and control.
Which brings us to this idea mentioned in the reports, the machine behind the curtain. What does that refer to?
It refers to what allegedly happened after these obedience trials, as he called them. Opportunities suddenly flooded in, projects he wasn't even on the radar for before, people allegedly telling him, Diddy vouched for you?
And he just took them.
At first, yeah. Reportedly felt grateful, didn't ask questions, but then came the alleged strings. A major studio head allegedly told him flat out, "We hear you're someone who plays the game. That's all that mattered." When he tried questioning contract terms later, he was reportedly warned subtly that options could disappear if he didn't stay on good terms with certain people.
So these weren't really offers, in his view, more like assignments.
That's how he allegedly came to see them, yes. Assignments. And the source describes Diddy's alleged influence as just vast, way beyond music. Investments, relationships, stakes in companies, favors owed everywhere, and the alleged unspoken rule. Cross him and you get blacklisted.
Is there an example of that in the source?
Yeah, he reportedly recounted declining an invite to one of those late-night gatherings. The next week, his agent allegedly calls. A major studio pulled his name from a project. Last minute, no real reason given. That's when he reportedly knew silence wasn't just expected, it was mandatory.
And this alleged circle of silence extended beyond Diddy himself.
Reportedly, yes. It included his own team, managers, lawyers. They allegedly knew where the lines were, wouldn't speak Diddy's name without praise. He described feeling like a puppet. Career strings pulled by these invisible alliances, allegedly held together by fear, favors, and secrets. Power and access allegedly controlled, not openly, but through whispers, favors, and debts.
So this whole alleged ecosystem of control. Then the source mentions an event where he felt he saw too much.
Right. Another private gathering. Hollywood Hills. Supposedly a screening, networking night. But when he got there, it felt different again. Tight security, phones taken, masks handed out for anonymity. He allegedly got the feeling it wasn't just a party, maybe more like someone else's initiation.
What did he allegedly see there?
He felt uneasy, reportedly walked around the edges, and what he allegedly saw disturbed him. People he admired, actors, musicians, directors behaving oddly, looking lost, like they were trying to prove something or hide something.
Any specific instance?
Yes. The source recounts him seeing a well-known younger actor, crying in a hallway, trembling, holding a drink. When he reportedly asked if the guy was okay, the younger actor allegedly mumbled, "They told me this is what it takes."
Wow. That must have hit hard. Was that the turning point?
That was reportedly the turning point for him. He left early that night. The source quotes him saying, "The glamour cracked and I saw the machinery underneath. Didn't sleep." Reportedly not just because of what he saw, but this crushing realization that his own success felt tied to, well, this horrible cost.
And the realization about why he was there.
Exactly. He allegedly realized he wasn't invited to these inner sanctums because they valued him, but because he was seen as useful. Because he had allegedly proven he could stay silent. Seeing that young actor reportedly snapped him back made him remember who he was before all this. Before the fear, before the shame.
So that's when he made the promise.
That night, according to the source, he reportedly made a promise to himself, if anyone ever asked me what I saw, I wouldn't lie. And his alleged testimony, it was reportedly about finally keeping that promise.
Which leads to that huge question he apparently addressed. Why do people with platforms stay silent in situations like this?
His alleged answer was blunt, because it's terrifying. Plain and simple. He reportedly explained that early on, survival felt like just performing, smiling, moving forward, never questioning those allegedly in control.
You're taught not to make waves.
Exactly. You're taught not to ruffle feathers, not to say names, the report quotes him saying. He allegedly thought, if I speak, I lose everything. He insisted, according to the source, his silence wasn't guilt, it was just raw fear. Fear of retaliation, blacklisting, being labeled difficult, not always direct threats, but watching others just disappear. Roles vanish, calls stop, contracts get pulled.
He mentioned others disappearing.
Reportedly, yes. Referenced other actors who allegedly vanished after leaving this alleged inner circle, said they weren't crazy, just tired. Tired of pretending, tired of being owned. And the internal cost he described, immense. Anxiety, isolation, deep distrust.
Yeah, you'd feel complicit somehow, wouldn't you?
That's exactly what he reportedly said. You feel part of something you hate, but leaving feels impossible. Burning bridges, his voice reportedly cracked saying this part. And worst of all, he allegedly claimed, you start to question whether you were complicit just by surviving.
So what was the final straw? What made him speak now?
The reports point to Cassie Ventura coming forward. He allegedly stated, seeing her come forward, that changed everything. It reminded me that silence protects the wrong people.
And the source describes a change in him on the stand then.
A visible shift, apparently. Sat taller. Speaking not as The Rock, but as a man allegedly reshaped by all this. He talked about the myth of success making you untouchable, argued it actually gets harder to speak up the higher you climb, the stakes feel higher, his whole brand is strength, right? But behind the scenes, he allegedly felt powerless, trapped by that image.
He admitted staying silent because the cost felt too high.
For years, yes. But as more alleged survivors spoke out, his silence apparently shifted from feeling like self-preservation to feeling like betrayal.
And there was an anecdote about a fan.
Yeah, the source includes that. A young fan told him, you're the guy who never quits. And that apparently hit him hard, because in the context of all this alleged silence, he felt he'd quit. On himself, his principles, maybe on others still trapped.
So his alleged purpose in testifying wasn't revenge or canceling.
Not according to his reported words. It was because he'd been silent long enough, didn't want kids looking up to him thinking silence is strength. It was allegedly about accountability, looking at people allegedly in power and saying, we see you now, you're not invisible anymore.
Then came that moment described in the source, facing Diddy directly.
Yeah, a really powerful moment, as reported, turned to face him, spoke man to man, apparently with calm conviction, his alleged message. You made me believe I had to sacrifice myself, surrender my integrity, and I believed it. He reportedly called that alleged influence fear disguised as influence.
And speaking for others, too.
Explicitly, for the ones who allegedly couldn't speak, still suffering, who were allegedly told they had no choice, in a world where, as he reportedly put it, dignity and dreams couldn't live in the same place.
Wow. And his alleged final words to Diddy.
Reportedly, you don't get to define my legacy. Not anymore. Then stepping down from the stand, allegedly saying it ends here with the truth.
And his exit from the courtroom.
The source describes it as significant, not leaving like a victim or just another headline, but as someone who had reportedly reclaimed their story, no longer afraid, no longer silent. The report conveys this sense that something in Hollywood had just shifted.
But he had one more thing to say before leaving.
One final statement, reportedly. Paused, faced the whole room. Said his story wasn't just about him or fame or scandals.
Who was it for then?
It was allegedly for the people who never get to sit in this chair. The ones who allegedly didn't survive these systems to speak out. The ones still reportedly stuck behind the curtain, terrified no one will ever believe them.
And he ended with a critique of the culture itself.
A sweeping one, based on his alleged experience. For decades, Hollywood has been built on a lie. On the myth that power justifies abuse, that success comes with a price we can't question. And he allegedly stated that myth is finally breaking. Not with rage, not with revenge, but with truth.
And reiterating that personal reclaiming.
Right. That he never had anything if I didn't have myself. That core integrity piece.
And the final call to action.
A signal, really, to anyone watching or listening with similar experiences. Allegedly ending with, the silence is over, we're not afraid anymore.
So just to summarize the impact, based on this source material, this alleged testimony paints a really chilling picture. A picture of alleged systems of control, obedience, silence, operating behind the glittering facade of Hollywood, where access allegedly came at this immense personal cost.
Exactly. The core themes coming through the report are clear. The alleged price of success, the immense power and burden of silence, the difficulty and danger of breaking it, and that struggle for integrity within alleged systems reportedly built on fear and obedience.
It really leaves you thinking, doesn't it? Based purely on the dynamics described in these reports, the alleged use of power, access, favors, secrets, fear.
It leads to a pretty provocative thought, sticking only to the themes from the source material we've discussed. Considering this alleged account from Hollywood, how might similar systems of power, fear, enforced silence operate, perhaps unseen, in completely different industries, different areas of life? And drawing from the experiences allegedly described here, what does it actually take for someone caught in a system like that to break the silence? And what are the potential consequences they might face? It really makes you consider those hidden connections between power, access, and control.